everyone. I'm Susan Mulvihill and I am so excited. It's almost spring, and so I'm working my way through our garden, tidying up flower beds and doing some pruning. Today I'm focusing on pruning, and I wanted to give you a few tips on what I look for as I prune a tree. The first thing I look for is any dead or damaged branches. I cut those off first thing. The next thing I look for is any branches that are crossing, because that interferes with the way a tree grows, so those need to come off. After that, I look for any branches that are pointing into the center of the tree or crossing through the center of the tree. Those come off. After that, I look for any branches that are hanging downwards, because that's going to be a hazard to you, so you need to cut those off right away. Another thing I look for are any suckers coming up from the base of the tree. It's really important to get rid of those as well. Now today is a tale of two different trees, very different trees. This first one here is a Bechtel improved crabapple. It's an ornamental crabapple and I absolutely adore it. It has double peach colored flowers in the spring. It has a very nice uniform growth. It's just a wonderful addition to our landscape. As I look at it today, I see very little that needs to come off of it, which is great. The other tree I'm going to tell you about is a whole different story. Now this is a completely different story. This is a hawthorn called Paul's Scarlet. It's beautiful in the spring and summer with lovely little rose-shaped blossoms. It has berries from the fall to the winter, and the birds like to eat the berries. But I've got some serious problems here. I've got branches that are hanging down. I've got suckers coming out of the trunk. And look at all the branches I have pointing up, straight up to the sky. Those are all coming out. So I'm going to take you through this step so that you see how close to cut a branch to the trunk or to other branches, so that hopefully I will not get quite so many suckers coming up next year. Then I'm going to show you how it turned out, so you get the before and the after. The types of tools you'll need to prune trees or shrubs include a pair of hand pruners, a small handsaw or larger one for larger jobs, and loppers. All should have nice sharp blades. Here are a couple of photos of the hawthorn tree so you can get a better view of what will need pruning. This is a shot of a water sprout coming out of the trunk. That definitely needs to go. But first I wanted to explain where to make cuts when removing branches. You're looking at the main trunk on the left, with a branch coming out of it to the right. Do you see how there is sort of a rumpled section of the branch right where it emerges from the trunk? That's called the branch collar. You would cut just to the right of that branch collar. If you cut out too far from the branch collar, which is called a stub cut, you'll get a whole bunch of water sprouts that show up in the branch's place. Not good. If you cut down through the branch collar and even into the trunk, that is way too close. It damages the tree and can cause rotting. Here is an example of a stub cut of that water sprout I was showing you. It's too long. I used my small saw to make a cut that is close to the trunk, but just on the outside edge of the branch collar. And here is the result. But how do you handle the removal of large, heavy branches? Here my husband Bill is getting ready to remove a big branch. He made his first cut several inches above where the final cut would be. That was to remove that heavy branch. If he had instead made just the final cut, the weight of the branch would probably split part of the tree and pull away bark, which is not a good thing. Now he's making his final cut with about 10 inches of branch remaining. That also makes it much easier to make the cut. Well, here is the after picture I promised you. The tree looks a whole lot better, doesn't it? We mostly removed all of those water sprouts, but also took out a couple of larger branches to better shape the tree. When you're pruning a tree or shrub, remember this rule of thumb. Never remove more than 25% of the plant's branches in a year's time. That way the plant can recover from the pruning. So if you have a big pruning job to do, plan it carefully over 2 to 3 years. Now, one good thing about the water sprouts on hawthorn trees is that most of them are very straight and sturdy. So I gathered a whole bunch of them and will trim them slightly and use them for plant stakes. Oh, I should probably also mention that while pruning, we came across this bird nest from last year, which was built by a chipping sparrow. Now he's got room to build a new one this year. Before I close, I wanted to show you a photo of what our Bechtel improved crabapple tree looks like in the spring. Isn't it just glorious? Happy gardening!